Hello, math friends. Today we're going to talk about simplifying exponents. This is like a monster learning target. There are a whole bunch of different types of problems that we could be seeing. So let's get started right away. If we take a look at this first one, if I have 6 to the third times 6 to the negative 8, my bases are the same and I'm multiplying. When my bases are the same and I'm multiplying, I can go ahead and add my exponents. So in this case, I'm going to have 6 to the 3 plus negative 8. 3 plus negative 8 gives me 6 to the negative 5th power. Now, one of the rules with exponents is you can never end with a negative. No negatives in your exponents. So I'm going to change that into a fraction. I'm going to go with 1 over 6 to the 5th power. Now, you kind of have to watch your directions and see if they're going to ask you to not have any exponents in your denominator, but in this case, this is a super big old number, so it looks best if we just leave it with my exponent in my denominator. So that's looking like a real good simplified answer. If I take a look at the next one, I have 12 to the third, and then outside my parentheses, I have to the 4th power. This is different because I don't see two bases. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and multiply my exponent. So I'm going to get 12 to the 3 times 4 power. And 3 times 4 is 12. So I have 12 to the 12th, which looks pretty sweet. Moving on, let's look at other types of problems where I have to simplify my exponents. Another couple would be when we're dealing with division. So when we're dealing with division, this time, instead of adding my exponents, I'm going to get to subtract. So here, x to the 4th over x to the 6th would be x to the 4 minus 6. And I'm going to stop, chop that, and I'm going to end up with x to the negative 2 power. Now again, I have a negative exponent, and the rule is no negatives in my exponent. So I'm going to go ahead and make that 1 over x to the 2nd power. And there is my simplified answer. I don't know what x is, so I can't go any farther. Over here, my exponent is on the outside of my parentheses, so I'm going to distribute that exponent to both parts of my fraction. So I'm going to end up with 3 to the 2nd over 4 to the 2nd. Now these are pretty simple exponents for me to deal with, and they give me some pretty nice, neat numbers. So 3 to the 2nd is just 9, and 4 to the 2nd is just 16. So in this case, I can get it all the way down to a nice, neat fraction without any exponents involved at all. Pretty cool. Moving on, let's look at another rule that we need to know in order to simplify exponents. This one is one of my favorites. It is the 0 power rule. You gotta love these. You should get a tiny bit excited when you see something to the 0 power. You might even let out a woo, because when you get anything to the 0 power, it's gonna just be 1. So that's pretty sweet. It looks like 2,356 to the 0 power. Looks complicated. Ooh, not at all. It's just a 1. And so over here, when I have 25 times x squared, but then it's inside parentheses and it's taken to the 0 power, I go, woo! And I know it's just going to be a plain old 1. Pretty cool, pretty simple, dealing with the 0 power. Let's look at a couple of others that I might have to deal with. I might deal with some negative exponents. So here, I have that negative exponent, so I'm just following that rule of just simply 1 over 5 to the 2nd power. And this time, 5 to the 2nd power can be simplified pretty neatly. Not a huge number. 5 to the 2nd power is just 25. So I can get that all the way to just a nice, neat fraction. On this one, I'm going to work in reverse. So if I have 1 over 2 times 2 times 2, I can write that as 1 over 2 to the 3rd power. So that's probably simplified mathematically the most correct, but I also in my head can remember that that's the same as 2 to the negative 3rd power. So just being able to recognize the different forms and being able to pick the one that they're asking. They might ask you for the one with the negative in the exponent, or they might ask you for a exponent in fraction form. So a couple different ways to think about it. And then, of course, I could go super crazy and I could combine a couple of the different rules that we've talked about. So if I have 3 to the 3rd times 3 to the 5th, I'm going to add my exponents first to give me 3 to the 8th. And then I have 3 to the 8th divided by 3 to the 8th, which I remember, subtract your exponents. So I take 8 minus 8, and 8 minus 8 is going to give me 3 to the 0 power, which makes me go, woo, because that's just a plain old 1. That's a pretty sweet one. A whole bunch of different steps in there. So if you can do all of that, you can multiply things with exponents, divide them, you can recognize the 0 power and negatives, then you certainly, my friends, can simplify exponents, and you're in great shape, and I would give you a super big wow. You're super fantastic. Way to go.